Jurgen Klopp is leaving Liverpool at the end of the season, and we have a Liverpool fan here, Zach, on the channel. And Zach, I have to ask you, did you see this coming?
No, not at all. Just under 2 years ago, in April 2022, he signed an extension. Yeah. So his initial contract was set to expire in the summer of 2024. He signed an extension to the summer of 2026. So I thought he's bound to see out his contract. He loves the club. 100%. And it just came as an absolute shock to me. It was about lunchtime, I read the news, my phone was popping off, I was at work, I looked at it and I was like, no way. For a second I was thinking, it's got to be a joke, but then I saw it on so many media outlets and I thought, it just completely took me by surprise.
It really is a shock to the world, like to the world of football. Like, he is a
not even just Liverpool fans. Like, this is going to be a big change for the whole of the Premier League.
Absolutely.
Him and Pep have been the face over the past 5-6 years. Their battles between each other have been so enthralling to watch, and
I've been loving it.
It just pains me to see. Like, even though Klopp may have not have achieved what Pep has over the past few years, when you look at the resources he's had and what this man has produced, the performances that we've put in, they're so exciting to watch. Liverpool in 17-18 was one of the most entertaining teams I've ever seen. Yes, we didn't win anything that season, but the front three scored like 90 goals. We pepper teams, gegenpressing football, and it'd just be really, really sad to see him go.
I mean, when you think of Jurgen Klopp team, it is that front three of Salah, Firmino, Mane.
Exactly, it's the epitome of it.
Exactly, and in the midfield, you always think of it as like Henderson, Fabinho, Wijnaldum, runners.
Workhorses.
Exactly, workhorses. That's the way that Klopp plays, and it's such a joy to watch as an outsider. And it really is a shock to world football because he is a Premier League icon. He's one of the greatest managers the Premier League has ever seen. You know, he has definitely left a lasting legacy. And actually, the reason it is mainly a shock for me is because of the fact that Liverpool are on such a better trajectory now. Like, Liverpool have come through that poor season last year, and Klopp's on that rebuild, and he's actually started it very well. So the fact that Klopp's left just as he started that new rebuild, that new team,
that's where it's really a shock, isn't it?
Exactly, a massive shock. I wouldn't have expected it at all. So I was expecting like Klopp to maybe see out this rebuild and then perhaps leave. And I think if Klopp was going to leave, I was actually surprised it wasn't last season, because I felt like
at the end of the year, it was almost an end of an era for that current Liverpool team.
Yeah, exactly. And I felt like maybe Klopp could move on with the team. Like, I didn't think Klopp had it in him to do a second rebuild, but he does. But unfortunately, I mean, just as it started, he's now leaving, and it's definitely a shock to the world of football.
Well, in the summer, we signed Szoboszlai, Gravenberch, McAllister, Endo, so many top players, and we've completely revamped that midfield. Yes, maybe the defence needs working on this summer, but I thought Klopp did the attack in sort of 2021, 2022, did the midfield in 2023, and then the defence was going to be in 2024. And hopefully throughout that period, like this season that we're on at the moment, which has been absolutely brilliant, we're still in all four competitions, I thought that we'll see the progression of this second team, and then maybe it could reach the heights like the Liverpool team did with Wijnaldum, Fabinho, Henderson, Salah, Firmino, Mane. So that's why it's a real shock to me, because I was just so hyped for this next like Liverpool team, Liverpool 2.0. Like, over the past few months, we've been playing really, really well, and I think that's a good. I think it's worth a mention that apparently he knew from November, so that obviously means someone inside the club or a group of people inside the club knew about this already. But the thing is, did the players knew?
That's the main question, isn't it? Because that's when it could affect the form.
Exactly. Because if the players knew, and they have done since November, Liverpool have been playing well since November, so has that galvanised them? Or have they not known, and will they know, and because they know now, will that almost sort of derail our season? It can go one of two ways. We've been playing really well recently, maybe because the players knew, or just because they're in good form. But hopefully from now, because they're obviously bound to know now if they didn't already, until May, we just retain this form, and do this for Klopp. We've got to win the league, Europa League, FA Cup, Carabao Cup. If Klopp can have his final season with 4 trophies in the
quadruple, but on the lower level.
That, I know it's not the quadruple of the Champions League, but it's still an amazing achievement. And I think the players, knowing there's a Liverpool team and knowing Klopp and knowing what he instills in this group of lads, I really hope and think and expect that he will galvanise them, and it will just propel them on to win all of those trophies. And I think, because Pep Guardiola and City haven't looked quite at it this season, and Arteta and Arsenal have been a bit iffy, I think this is our best chance in a long time to go for the league title. And because his team is looking so good at the moment, they've got to do it for Klopp. I feel like the players will think that. I think Van Dijk will probably get them in a little group, in a little team, and say, boys, this is Klopp's final season. We want to go out on a bang. We don't want to be sat there on the final day saying farewell to Klopp empty-handed, no trophies. We want to be having the Premier League, the FA Cup, the Carabao Cup, the Europa League. We want to present it all with Klopp in front of it, and that would just be the ultimate farewell for, the greatest manager I've seen in my lifetime at Liverpool.
Absolutely. I mean, that actually leads me on to another question, and Why do you think Klopp decided to leave now? Because Liverpool are in a much better situation than last season. He's actually doing this new rebuild, as we mentioned earlier, and it is a shock. So why do you think Klopp would think that now is the best time to leave, or at least announces?
I know, it's weird because like we were saying, because this Liverpool team's been completely revamped over the past 6 months, we thought maybe he'd see out his contract. But I think probably it is due to maybe he's just completely burnt out. Maybe he's just thinking, I can go on to the end of the season, but another 2 more seasons, this intensity, the pressure, sort of embedding my new players, signing new players. I don't think he really has it in him anymore. And maybe he just wants a break for a few years, and then maybe he'd go and manage the German national team or another team around Europe. Or maybe he would just quit football altogether, put his feet up on the beach, because that man deserves it. What he has done has just been incredible.
Yeah.
And I think it's also worth a mention that throughout Jurgen Klopp's tenure, he hasn't said it, but I think you can almost, you don't notice it, but you can sort of see that his relationship with FSG isn't always perfect.
That's true.
He doesn't like to sort of talk bad about them in the media, but he always sort of puts like little things in like, oh, we can't sign what City can, we don't have the finances that City do or Chelsea do. Yeah, little digs. And I think maybe something to do with FSG could have played a role in him quitting this, at the end of the season. Maybe he's had enough of constantly battling with FSG to sign players. But then at the same time, I think his love for Liverpool and his overriding love for the club and the players would have just pushed him through that, pushed that aside and thought, you know what, I'm just going to see out the rest of my contract. But yeah, that's weird. Him quitting at the end of the season really did shock me.
I think if he had an owner like City, for example, I'm not saying Liverpool would want them owners.
Maybe Klopp would think, well, I could see out the rest of my contract. I'm not going to have the hassle of dealing with the owners constantly.
Exactly.
And yeah, maybe it just takes it out of him, because managing the top clubs does. And if you look at Fergie and Wenger, they were at United and Arsenal for years upon years. But not very often, we see managers stay at clubs for that length of time. No. Even like Zidane, who won so many trophies at Real Madrid, he won the 3-peat. He was only there for what, 4, 5 years?
Yeah. Did come back for a little stint, but that was a couple of years.
Even Guardiola at Barcelona wasn't there for a mega amount of time. Yeah. So it does take its toll on you as a manager, especially if you've got to deal with loads of different problems within the club, as well as facing the pressures from the media and the pressures from the fans as well.
Could we see maybe players leave, the likes of Van Dijk and Salah, that could be considering their future, especially depending on obviously who's appointed, but the fact that Klopp's left, he's probably the main reason that someone like a Salah is staying and going on for so long.
Even when we're not in the Champions League, we've still got a manager like Klopp.
It's because Klopp's there, and I think with Klopp leaving, could we see someone like Salah and other players in the squad that were there during Klopp's tenure, could we see him go?
Someone like Klopp just makes you think, well,
he's got that pull.
He's got that pull. And also the players who are there, they think, well, we could stay even through the sticky times, because you know what Klopp can do. We know that he can get us out of a sticky situation. It's not as maybe last season we would have saw Salah or Van Dijk or maybe some of the other star players leave if Klopp wasn't at the helm, because if there was another manager last season who had that run for Liverpool, you would have said they're finished. But with Klopp, you always think in the back of your mind, yes, Liverpool can go again. He's got the ability to bring this Liverpool team through the thick and thin and sort of, get them out good on the other side.
Yeah, I agree with that. And also, I think the main thing that the players have got to remember is they're not only playing for Klopp, but they're playing for Liverpool Football Club.
Yeah.
Like, at the end of the day, yes, Klopp is leaving, and I get that emotionally
it's not like De Zerbi leaving Brighton, where the manager's maybe a little bit too good for the club.
Yeah, and you think that, I don't know, like you said, the manager's too big for the club. And Klopp, despite him being an absolutely amazing manager, iconic manager, he's not bigger than Liverpool, is he? Like, he is not Liverpool. Like, I know he is the face of the club at the moment, but in terms of when you think
Liverpool have had greats before him, and they should have greats after him.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's just undeniable because of the stature of Liverpool Football Club, and I think the players have got to remember that, like the fact that they're not playing for a team, they're not playing for Klopp, they're playing for the football club, Liverpool Football Club, one of the biggest clubs in Europe, giants, absolute monstrous club.
I think that pull factor alone would sort of keep a lot of the players on side even if Klopp leaves. And like you said, it depends who comes in, because I think if we employ someone like, I don't think we will, unless FSG are completely stupid, but like Mourinho, I think unless we employ someone like Mourinho who just his style of football just goes completely against Klopp's.
That's the worst thing you want to do.
And he managed United, he managed Chelsea.
Yeah, no, of course.
His style of football is pathetic compared to Klopp's in terms of it's not entertaining. The players aren't suited to it. I know Liverpool players, they got so many world class ones, you probably could tailor them to different systems, but the players that are currently in the system fit Klopp's high pressing, high intensity football. So I think it does depend on who we sign as to who we appoint as to who we sign in the window and who leaves. But I think someone like Xabi Alonso would be the perfect fit. He's have all the minerals, unbeaten this season with Leverkusen in the Bundesliga.
Miracles there.
Exactly. He's been managed under Ancelotti. He's been managed under Guardiola, Rafa Benitez. I think Mourinho as well. He's got that sort of authority. Tactical nous. When he comes in, the players are going to look up to him and say, yes, you're inexperienced, but you've got quality, you love Liverpool, you've played at Liverpool, and the amount of experience that you must have gained from working under all those managers, we're going to back you.
Yeah.
Whereas if we brought in someone like Steven Gerrard, who is arguably Liverpool's best player of the modern era, he doesn't have that same sort of, well, we've seen him, the pedigree. He's not quite that, because he was alright. He was alright at Rangers, but it's the Scottish League. He failed at Villa, and now he's off in Saudi. Whereas Alonso, he looks like he's going to dethrone Bayern Munich at the top of the Bundesliga. And like we said, and we keep on reiterating, the amount of managers he's learnt off that are at a top level, it does bode well if he does come in. But it's just really sad to think about.
Yeah, of course. I imagine it's very sad as a Liverpool fan. But all I've got to say is, Klopp upset the apple cart in Germany where he won the league with Dortmund. And look what Xabi Alonso's doing.
Yeah, maybe it's sort of a... Yeah, exactly.
There's a similarities.
That's true.
Also, he knows the club, he knows the fans, and he's a footballing great. You cannot argue with Xabi Alonso. He is one of the best players like Liverpool have had. Like, he is one
of the most underrated midfielders in the past 20, 30 years.
Absolutely. Like, he doesn't get named up there with the top midfielders of the past few years, and it's because of the amount of great midfielders we've seen. But he is up there, and as a manager right now, he's performing. And like I said, he's upsetting the apple cart in Germany, like Klopp did with Dortmund. So there's very, very much similarities there.
Maybe so.
So there, as much as there is disappointment, there could be excitement. I think the main thing that Liverpool need to get right, though, or FSG need to get right, is do not appoint someone that is the opposite style of Klopp.
Like Mourinho, I said. Yeah.
Appoint someone who's very similar personality-wise, tactical-wise.
Someone who embodies the club's ethos and culture.
Because you're never going to find a perfect replacement. No. You cannot replace Klopp. Whoever you appoint is not going to be perfect. They're always going to have doubts about them.
If you employed someone like Mourinho or Ancelotti, yes, they'd have the pedigree of Klopp, but their whole character doesn't fit what Liverpool want.
Exactly.
And this man is not even just, like we said, it's not even just his play style, because his play style is just mesmerising to watch. For me, it's the best brand of football in the world.
Yeah,
I think honestly, it's the most enthralling to watch. Even if you're not a Liverpool fan and you watch Liverpool, you know you're always going to be entertained. But like we keep on saying, it's the way he just embodies the club's culture, embodies the whole sort of like city itself, not even just the club. And I think the next manager that comes in, like even with Pep, who sometimes has disagreements with the City fans, and
we've seen him call them out, haven't we?
And we've seen him say bad things. He's done it once.
I know he did it recently, but
I feel like Klopp's connection with the Liverpool fans is greater than Pep's connection with the City fans. And that's no slight on Pep. It's not trying to disrespect him, but Klopp is just tailor-made for Liverpool.
He really does embody the culture of Liverpool Football Club, and like Zach said, the city itself. But I have to ask you, Zach, to sort of see it off. As hard as it is right now, reflecting back, how highly would you rank the legacy of Jurgen Klopp?
So, if you're ranking it off Premier League greats, I think he's in that tier below Wenger, Guardiola, and
A lot of
Fergie.
people would put him in there with Wenger.
Well,
or above. I've seen people on Twitter saying he's above Wenger. I get why. I do understand why, because he has left a lasting impression on the league.
He's won the Champions League.
He's won the Champions League. Wenger couldn't do that. And you can't really... listen, granted, Klopp had a bit more of a budget than someone like Wenger, but you can't say Klopp got a Pep budget.
Yeah, exactly.
He did do it on a somewhat shoestring budget. Like, especially in the early years when Liverpool winning the Premier League and Champions League. When Liverpool won the Premier League that summer, they basically signed no one. I think it was Harvey
Vandenberg, I think Elliott and Adrian.
That was it, wasn't it? And then the season after that, you signed Thiago, which was your best signing, and then
Tsimikas, Jota.
Yeah, it wasn't loads and loads spent.
Apart from, I think it was 2018 and the summer just gone. That was spent over 100 million, yeah.
Exactly. Whereas City always do that, as we know.
And they don't have to sell players in order to buy.
No, exactly. And Arsenal, under Wenger, were very tight with their money, don't get me wrong. And
there's a similar sort of situation to Klopp at Liverpool.
It was tighter than Liverpool's probably, but I don't think it's not much in it, in my opinion, because football has changed. So yes, you can say, look how much Klopp spent, but the value changes, the market changes, so you can't really go off that. Exactly. So I think Klopp, rightfully so, could be put above Wenger, but then I would also agree with someone that says Wenger's better. Because Wenger's he changed the culture of the Premier League. You know, like how Pep came in and has changed the way football's seen. Wenger did that when he came in at Arsenal. He completely changed the way football.
But there wasn't like the eating habits or something and the training schedules or something like that. He completely changed the whole culture of the league. But why I think I'm maybe just below, because obviously he's by far my favourite manager, of course, and he's the best Liverpool manager since Shankly and Paisley and all of them lot in the 80s.
Brendan Rodgers is up there, in my opinion. JK.
But why maybe just below them? It's just because of if you're talking about Premier League legacy alone, it's the one league title. Obviously, Wenger I think won 3, wasn't it?
3.
Fergie won 12 or 13. Guardiola's won about 5. So maybe he doesn't have the same sort of pedigree in the Premier League alone. But in terms of being an all-time great as a manager, he sits on that table undeniably.
He's iconic.
Exactly. He's only been at Liverpool, only at Liverpool 9 years, but Wenger was at Arsenal for like 25 years. Fergie was at United a long, long time. And I think if Klopp did see out his time at Liverpool and extended his contract and was Liverpool manager for the foreseeable future, I think then if you were looked at his trophy cabinet when he did leave Liverpool in the future, he'd probably have a similar sort of cabinet to a Wenger or Fergie. I think one league title in 9 years, people obviously give it a lot of slander, but he's playing in the same era as Guardiola and City with all their finances and obviously Guardiola's tactical ability. And if he did stay for maybe another 10 more years, he could obviously maybe win another 2, 3, 4 more league titles, maybe another 2, 3 Champions Leagues. Yeah. And then he would just be undisputedly in that table, if not better than the likes of Guardiola.
It's a shame Pepper's around, because if he wasn't, Klopp would be a monster machine. He'd be a serial winner.
I think it's worth a mention that although I love Liverpool, I love Klopp, there's nothing, I'd never want to see a manager on the touchline apart from Klopp, but I feel like sometimes we might be remembered as the nearly team in some cases, in the sense of in 18-19 we nearly won the league. In 21-22, 2 games away from the quadruple. I feel like, and the one with Stones clearing the ball off the line. We could have been Centurions one season. We could have been Invincible. The other season we could have won the quadruple. We could have had like back-to-back Premier Leagues and Champions Leagues. I think that maybe will be a little bit of a tarnish on his legacy.
Yeah,
but
of course.
You can't take away, like we keep on saying, the resources that Klopp's had, the budget that he's had, and the players that he's transformed. Every player that's come into Liverpool, bar maybe 1 or 2, has completely elevated their game under Klopp. They look hungry to play for Liverpool. They look so much better technically. They look more skilled tactically. Very good as well. And yeah, I just think that the hole that he leaves after Liverpool will just be somewhat similar to what Wenger and Fergie have left after United and Arsenal. And I just hope that we can find a replacement quicker than United are. And I know Arsenal got Arteta, but even then there's question marks over him, and it wasn't overnight.
He hasn't won anything.
I really hope we don't fall into the same situation as United, because I don't want to go through years of chopping and changing through managers.
No, that'd be the worst.
I'm not going to be naive and think that the next man that's going to come in is going to instantly replicate Klopp. But yeah, I think if I'm going off who do I want, it's probably Xabi Alonso, but like we said, that's a video for another day. But he just looks like the perfect fit, really, in terms of all the options. But I just don't want to think about this man. I'll wake up tomorrow and I'll be like sat there in my bed and I'll be thinking, Klopp's not going to be a Liverpool manager in 6 months. And it just hits you because it hits me throughout the day. It's like,
there is a good chance, or not a good chance, but there's a chance that you could end up like United or even worse than Arsenal, where you've won 1 FA Cup since Wenger's left.
I don't know. I'd rather be Arsenal than United because at least it's not quite as long.
No, but at least they've won well. That's the only positive thing. But you don't want to be neither. Let's be real. You don't want to be neither. Like, you're a Liverpool Football Club. I mean, you're on the level. You're
one
on
of the biggest teams in the world. Yeah,
exactly. One of the biggest teams in the world. So hopefully FSG, for your sake, do get it right. But just to end the video on this question, I just thought of, what do you think is next for Jurgen Klopp? Like, where do you think we should go? I know he takes a break. We know that he's not going to go straight back into it because of his lack of energy. Yeah, that's what he said. But could we see him go to the German national team? Could we manage in Germany a football club like maybe a reunited with Dortmund or a Mainz, his original club, or even someone like a Bayern Munich? Because Tuchel's under pressure there. Yeah, we never know. Like, he could join a Bayern Munich. What do you think? Where do you reckon Klopp goes?
Well, I think, like you said, he's going to take a break. I think that could be for a few years. It could be for 5 years. I don't think it'd be for 10 years. I think if he has a break longer than 5 years, he'll never come back into football. Yeah. But I think he will go to the German national team if a job offer arises. He said he won't never manage another club in England, and rightfully so. You're not going to go and manage a United, Arsenal. Even if it's not any of those, you're not even going to manage a mid-table. I don't
see Klopp doing that.
Yeah.
He'd never do
even
that.
if it's like a West Ham, I just can't fathom him in another team, sort of surrounded by wearing like the badge of West Ham sat in the London Stadium. It just doesn't sit right. So I think he'll probably take a break from football, like you said, and I think he'll probably mull it over. I think he'll probably think to himself, maybe do I want to manage the German national team for maybe a couple of tournaments, maybe potentially win Germany a World Cup or a Euros, and then cement my legacy even more as a manager who can do international and club football, because we very rarely see managers who win trophies on international level and at club level. So that would set him apart from a lot of top greats. So that's the question. But yeah, I think when he leaves Liverpool in the summer, he's gonna have a lot of thinking to do, and maybe he will just retire, and that will be sad to see, because even though he wouldn't be at Liverpool, I just couldn't fathom or imagine Klopp just not in football.
Football club,
it just wouldn't seem. I know
it just feel weird. Even as a neutral, it feels weird.
Because you just see him everywhere you go, and he's in his 50s. It's not like he's 70 years old and he's sat there like the average retirement age. So he's not like Roy Hodgson, who could really just put his feet up on the sofa.
Exactly.
So hopefully he's got more left in his tank. Obviously, I'm just completely devistated that he's going to be leaving Liverpool in the summer. But I think over the next few months, we'll start to see rumours and murmurs of who's going to take over. And I think Klopp will try his best attempt to leave Liverpool in the best possible situation. And I think the players will try their best to leave Klopp with almost the ultimate set of trophies and let Klopp have his perfect farewell in front of the Kop with the Europa League, the Premier League, the FA Cup and the League Cup, all in front of him, the big tifo on the Kop, and then yeah, you can salute Klopp goodbye and obviously see him off into the sunset.
But listen, there's many questions regarding Klopp leaving, because obviously, you know, what's next for Klopp? Where does he go? Comment that down below. What's next for Liverpool Football Club? Who do they appoint? Where do they go? What happens for the rest of the season? Many questions that we want you to answer in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, please remember to like the video because it really does help us out. So just hit the subscribe button. We really do appreciate it, and we'll see you in the next video, guys.